I've been playing video games for as long as I can remember, and the best experience for me has always been controller in hand, sitting in front of the TV with a cup of tea within reach. Don't get me wrong, I do love PC gaming and the competitive side of things, but when it comes down to it, I've had my best gaming experiences on console, and I usually play games to relax and unwind, and I don't really feel that way sitting at a PC. I've mentioned this before, but mobile gaming on a phone or tablet has never really appealed to me. I was brought up on Game Boys, Nintendo DS's and a pay once, play forever system, and the rise of free but microtransaction riddle games went against everything I knew, and in my opinion it slowly turned every mobile game into a money first, gameplay second affair. Thanks to the iPad Pro though, and some really great additions to it, that's all starting to change, and I wanted to explain why. It's no secret that the iPad Pro is packing some serious punch under the hood, and the games that are currently coming out on it are all proof of that. Call of Duty Mobile is utterly convincing as a console adaptation, Fortnite can now run at an immense 120 frames per second, and other games like Oceanhorn 2 look and run incredibly well. Of course, graphics don't speak for everything though. There's games out there that are way more simple, but they run so smoothly on here that you almost forget you're playing on a mobile device entirely. The iPad Pro isn't limited to its own display either. You can hook this up to a separate screen and enjoy a bigger experience if you want, and best of all, it holds up no problem, other than retaining the black bars on either side of the screen, which is a bit of a shame. I actually made a video about this and tried to push the iPad Pro to its limit, so I'll link that below if you want to check it out, but it's a great feature to have. The biggest and best update for the iPad though has been support for Xbox One and PS4 controllers. The iPad did support certain controllers before, but these standards of game control really bring things into focus. Playing games in this manner instantly makes the iPad a much more viable platform to play more intricate titles on. Games like Dead Cells or Enter the Gungeon, which require pinpoint accuracy at times, absolutely sing with a dedicated controller attached and feel so much better for it, and it almost makes me wonder how you could even play them with touch controls. Not to mention, attaching a controller clears the game screen of touch buttons too, which is nice. Basically, it comes down to this: if the game lets you attach a controller, then you pretty much always should. Every game I've tested becomes so much better. The secret ingredient to all of this though is Apple Arcade, and I'll level with you, I wasn't sold on Apple Arcade when it was announced. There's no killer game on there that I saw that seemed worth it, and I didn't want to add yet another monthly subscription to my already bloated list. But I think it's possibly the most important part of making the iPad into a real gaming contender. There's actually some amazing games on here that are well worth checking out. Guildlings is a really weird RPG game that reminds me of Earthbound on the SNES. Card of Darkness is a fun little puzzle game with interesting twists on gameplay. What the Golf is straight up hilarious, and Sayonara Wild Hearts is an experience like no other. There's loads of other games to test out here too, and while I've only tried a small sample of them, I'm sure there's more on here I need to dive into. Getting access to all of these titles for the monthly fee of $4.99 is amazing value for money. It really lets you find the games you like rather than taking the plunge and paying for a title you're just not too sure about. Not to mention, if you have family sharing set up, then the value proposition gets much better too. As much as I'm enjoying it, Apple Arcade does feel like it's in its early stages. There's lots of potential within this subscription service, and I hope it will help game developers foster fun new exclusives. But best of all for me, it gets away from that microtransaction minefield that the App Store has turned into, and that's worth the monthly bill alone for me. Apple Arcade feels like it's operating in its own field too. It's not trying to compete on the same level as an Xbox, PS4, or even a Switch, which is good. This isn't a this or that situation, it's purely additional in its nature, and I think that's a good way to go. At the time of this video, Google Stadia isn't supported on iPad, but if that does change, then the iPad is going to become an even better place to play games. I realise I am late to this. Going back, the iPad has been great for games for quite a long time, but I think the combination of Apple Arcade and controller support has truly turned this into a genuinely great place to experience gaming. Is it going to replace the console and controller setup I love so much? Well, no, and I don't think it's a good replacement for the best mobile game device out there, the Nintendo Switch. But gaming has always been about new experiences, and I'm glad the iPad has now fallen into that category for me. I'm excited to see how Apple Arcade develops over time and hope that the iPad continues to be another platform for developers to push different styles of game boundaries.